you see like a camera button anywhere, like a video?
Yeah.
You can hit that now.
Let me see here. I honestly haven't been using Skype for years, actually.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
funny. That's funnily the case with a lot of people I've been speaking to, and
yeah,
yeah, a lot of them forgot their passwords and had to like set up new accounts just to get on this interview. So it was kind of
yeah, exactly.
yeah, but it's kind of convenient though because Skype has this built-in recording function, which it doesn't take up a lot of space, it doesn't take up a lot of processing power, so it makes
Mm,
sense to use Skype actually.
yeah,
Yeah, so yeah, first of all, thank you for being here today,
of
and
course.
and how are you?
Well, I'm pretty fine, actually, in the middle of all this Corona madness here. Actually enjoying the first summer without any shows for 10 years, I think. Which is, I mean, it's not what I wanted, but I mean, what can you do about it other than just make the best out of it? So yeah, it's all good here actually.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Then is it apart from the festivals, is it very different from how it would usually be for you?
Yeah, completely different.
Uh,
I mean, just looking at the calendar, how it was supposed to be this year, it was supposed to be quite hectic, pretty much every weekend from beginning of June until now,
mhm.
which means home for maybe 3 weekdays every week. You know, you have all the travel days and so on. So yeah, it's it's quite different that to be home for an extended amount of time at this year. It's something new.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, but I'm liking your positivity though. Like I think because I'm also like your friend on Facebook since ages ago.
Yeah,
It may be hard to believe, but then like when you asked that question like, oh, am I sure? Because you weren't sure if I was like hitting up the right guy because you were a
yeah,
drummer, and then yeah, I was like, yes, 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 I'm sure, I'm sure.
yeah. Because I looked at your videos and it was mostly interviews with guitar players. So who
Yeah.
knows? Maybe.
Well, it's always good to
Uh,
check, but yeah, but
yeah.
rest assured, I've been like a long time fan of you
All
as a
right.
drummer. So
Okay. Cool.
yeah, so anyway, back to the point I was trying to make. I see all those posts you made on Facebook. It's all pretty positive, and kind of like making a joke out of a not so good situation, which is kind of good. That's what most people need now.
Well, I mean, I'm not in power of changing the whole situation. So I mean, what can you do other than trying to adapt to the situation and really make the best out of it? Because this is also, even if it's a crisis, is also a huge opportunity to to get after things that you maybe have put on standby for a very long time. You know, also practicing wise, for example, to have a long period of time where you can actually get into your instrument again
Mm.
without all these interferences all the time. That I mean, I'm not complaining. I mean, I love the way my life turned to be with playing shows and touring all the time. But also, uh, I used to be in this always evolving practicing mindset. Like before things started off with Amaranthe, I used to like be really into practicing and very focused. So now I have the opportunity to get back to this for a while and actually uh, reapproach everything with my whole playing and what music means and the whole thing. It's a new beginning in a
That's
way.
very true. That's very
Yeah,
true. I think you're very right when it comes to that point you made about us being able to do a lot of things that we always wanted to do but never had the time. So
yeah,
this is like the perfect opportunity,
yeah,
which is good in some ways, you know.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And we're
good.
lo
Sorry.
sorry, I was just about to say that we're lucky that this is. I mean, I'm not trying to play it down or anything. This Corona thing is quite serious in many places. Uh, but here in Denmark, we haven't had any cases for. I mean, at least people are not dying anymore for almost a month now. So
Oh,
here everything is more or less back to normal. You know, I go to the gym every day. Tons of people outside where I live here, tourists. Is It's pretty okay now here.
oh.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm very happy to hear that as well. Yeah, I guess in a lot of Scandinavian countries, it's actually much better there. So I'm really happy for that as well, because
And
that's
what
where
about?
a lot of cool musicians are as well.
Yeah, it's important. But
Yeah.
you're based in London.
Yeah, I'm actually here for a while more before I head back to Malaysia. Well, that's where I'm originally from.
Yeah,
But Malaysia is actually quite fine. I think there's like less than 10 cases a day, and like,
mm,
not many people are dying from it. I think there's like one death, two deaths a day, or even
okay.
sometimes zero. But here in London, I think the cases are still pretty high. I think there's like a few hundred extra a day, and they're like, many
Okay.
deaths a day, so it's not really under control here. It's going
No.
down, but
Yeah.
it's not really doing that well yet. But I
No.
mean, it seems to be doing better and better, and hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So shall we dive into the questions
Yeah.
then?
Let's do it. Yeah. Sure.
Great, great. Okay, so first of all, I'm really honored and really thankful that you're spending time with me here today. So thank you once again.
It was
And
my pleasure.
glad you think so. So the first question I actually have for you is, what inspired you to pick up the sticks when you were a kid? And who were your idols and how did they influence you growing up as a drummer?
Hmm. Well, I think it all goes back to when I was around 5 years old, actually. At least I've seen pictures of myself doing this makeshift drum kit out of toys and a lot of stuff, and playing with chopsticks. I remember this. I always I stole my mom's chopsticks so I could play on drums. And I was I remember one day we were watching TV in the living room, and there was something about Metallica, and there was this drummer Lars Ulrich. He was also Danish, and he had this Danish flag on the drums, and everybody in my family, they reacted to it. They were like, "Oh, this is so cool!" And I think from that point, it was this is what got me, actually. So it's all down to Lars Ulrich from Metallica. So I had this huge poster uh, in my room. It was his drum kit, his big white pearl no Tama drum kit. And so I was listening to all the Metallica albums and picturing playing that drum kit. So I was kind of mentally making these maps of how to play the drums mentally. So
Wow.
like, oh, this is the hi-hat, this is the snare, and this must be that one that sounds like this, and this weird China symbol is the one that sounds like shh, and so on. So yeah, that's where it came from. Yeah.
Oh, nice. So was like Lars your sole influence when you were growing up, or did you have okay, so it was mainly that really inspired you to
Yeah.
pursue your
In,
career as a drummer.
yeah, at a very young age. Yeah, sure. And then afterwards, I got into more, you would say, extreme music. At the same time, also different kinds of music like rock. I was also having a grunge period, Nirvana and so on, and even some hip hop stuff and a lot of stuff, like everything from like Red Hot Chili Peppers, Cannibal Corpse, and Slayer all at the same time. I mean, I didn't discriminate in genres already at a very early age, and because I was skating, and so there was a whole culture with this as well, with the different kinds of music. So I just took it all in, I think, and yeah.
Oh, nice. So like being, exposed to so many different types of genres of music, did you take formal drum lessons in order to, actually start learning drums, or were you self-taught?
I was, I would say I was self-taught. My first experience with playing with other musicians was because of I started playing in the school band, and we had this music lessons, which was pretty much bullshit. It was mostly like you sing songs, you maybe try to play the xylophone, or, you know, that's that kind of stuff. And one day everybody got to play the drums. So everybody is standing in a big line, and that was the first time I ever played a real drum kit. And I could do it. I could play what was in my mind, which was, for me, it was the most amazing feeling ever. And then I remember the teacher saying, "Okay, your time is up. You get the same time as everybody else." I'm like, "No, but I need to do all this stuff. I need to play this and that." So and then the word got around, and I think it was the 4th grade or something like this. And then the school band, which was like, I think it was 8th grade or something like that, they needed a drummer. So I got to be the drummer in that band. They were much older than me. So every once in a while they pick me up from class and, "Hey, you have band practice." So I got to skip classes and go practice with the new kids. So yeah, that was cool back then. But maybe I lost the thread. What was the question actually?
So that was cool that you shared. So that kind of officially started your journey as a drummer, like, you know, you officially touching a real drum kit.
Yeah,
so then after that, did you have to take any formal lessons?
Sure, lessons. That was the question. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I started getting lessons, and I didn't like it at all. I had 2 years, and every time I went to lessons, it was like, so fucking boring, and I didn't care about it at all. I didn't care about reading music. I mean, it still got in my system and all that. So, but I just wanted to play music. I didn't want to learn to play because I felt like I could already play, which of course I couldn't. I mean, I could play, but I didn't feel like I had to practice. I just wanted to play, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But then later on, when I became 17 years old, I started very, very seriously to take lessons and to really get into other genres and learn techniques and all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, good. Thanks for sharing that. So when you took lessons, was it did you know that you were going to focus on metal, or did you get lessons from drummers who didn't really play metal? Like, you know, sometimes you learn very good techniques from like jazz drummers and things like that. So was that your approach? I mean, approaching someone with like proper technique regardless of what genre they were playing in?
Yeah, I got completely I completely ditched metal for a while. I think I was like, when I was 17 years old, up until then I played a lot of metal bands, and then all of a sudden I discovered this whole other side of music, like improvisation and, you know, jazz fusion and all that stuff, all the great drummers. And I guess I have had this phase of like, well, metal is not cool anymore. Metal is for metal is just posers, and, you know, and I wanted to be a real musician. So I thought I would. I started studying music, and but I didn't quite fit into that world, to be honest. And I kind of wanted to become like a drummer's drummer, session player, and all that stuff. But I think the universe just wanted me to play metal, so I started to get calls from metal bands that they needed a drummer and blah blah blah, and I started recording, and so it just went from there, and I kind of found the love of metal again, I guess. Kind of mixed it with everything I learned from other styles of music.
Oh, that's good. That explains, you know, your unique style of play. But before we get into your actual style, I wanted to talk a bit more about, you know, your technical capability. So to get to your sort of technical level, you know, you must have had like a very strict practice routine, did you? Or was it like, you know, you were just practicing casually? Because some people are really talented and they just get things just like that. But then in your case, was it like, you know, sticking to a very rigid and strict practice routine?
Yes and no. I mean, I had a couple of years where I really practiced a lot, but when I say a lot, it's not 8 hours a day. I never understood how people can sit in a room and practice even. I mean, I think the most I have ever practiced without going out of my mind is maybe 4 hours. I mean, after that, personally, after 2 hours, my brain starts wandering, and it's not that fun anymore. So I would say, yeah, I had a couple of years where I practiced regularly, like three hours a day, and mostly because I had to get faster on drums. So I focused a lot on that, which is, I don't know if it was that necessary, honestly, but it was like, it was around that time where it became important to play fast, apparently. But yeah, I mean, now it's different. I don't have like a strict practice routine. It's not like I take off my notes and now I have to practice this and that and that. I have like overall things I work on in a long period of time, and kind of try to let them evolve automatically or naturally, instead of trying to sit and try to nail one thing here and there. It's more concepts over time I focus on, I guess, and just try to let my playing evolve the way it wants to be.
Oh, nice. That's good to know. So it's more like go with the flow and take things naturally. And
I mean, yeah, I mean, it depends on the day. Some days I just play along to music, and some days I sit and I focus on my left foot for 1 hour. You know, so it's it depends. It really depends. Yeah, there's so many ways to practice, and I think it's also important to sometimes not practice, to get away from it, to let it assimilate. Because if you focus too much on one thing, and like it's easy to get blind sometimes, and you don't stop making progress simply.
yeah, that's true. I think it's important to sometimes take a step back and then, breathe a bit, and then you come back, even if you're repeating the same thing, you come back with like a fresh mind and maybe a different perspective. You may have not seen something while you were practicing, but by taking that step back, you see, oh, actually I could have done this or that,
Yeah, it's like what you're feeding yourself with. It's like if you eat the same food all the time, it might taste really good in the beginning, and sooner or later your body will not like it anymore. It's the same with listening to the same music, playing the same, or it's yeah, too much of the same is not good. But yeah, there's many areas to explore on any instrument anyway. So.
That's very true. That's very true. All right. Thanks for sharing that. So let's jump into Amaranthe then. So first of all, congratulations on your successful single launch, Viral. And it sounds amazing. And yeah, like when the first time I heard it, in fact, it's rare that it happens for me for Amaranthe songs, but then I was actually 1 week late. I had, and then I was like, oh shit, did I just miss it? I knew it was coming.
Shame on you.
Yeah, shame on me. And then it was just, I remember back then when you guys launched like 365, I think it was like 2 years ago, if I'm not wrong, roughly.
Yeah.
And then I think within 24 hours I learned the whole song, and that's just how much I like
Wow.
and then so when it came to Viral, I was like, I heard the song 1 week late, so therefore I learned the song another week after. So I was like 2 weeks late. I was like, oh, shame on myself. But then so congratulations on that, and I can see that the response you guys got for that song, it seems pretty positive, and I'm sure you guys are very proud of that as well. So speaking, so sorry, you were about to say something?
No, I was just agreeing with you.
Okay, all right. So speaking of the band, so 12 years with the band is not something you see very often. I mean, because you were, one of the members that stuck with the band from day one until today.
Yeah.
So how have things changed throughout these 12 years for, you know, when it comes to the band and for you as an individual?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's I would say, well, I mean, as a band, I guess we officially started our career in 2010, I would say, like playing live, and sure, we were a band before that, but we didn't really have it. I mean, we didn't release anything until 2011, and so yeah. Oh, it's changed quite a lot actually, both for the band and the music industry. This is a kind of a, like, since a couple of years ago, it's been quite a turning point for us. We have some new members in the band, and for the first time, it feels like we have the lineup, like we have the perfect lineup. Everybody really gets along well, and we have I don't know what the right word. We're all very settled in somehow in this band now. We all spent a big part of our life on this, to build this, and we've been on this journey for quite some time now, and now it seems to bear fruit in many ways. So it's very, very fulfilling to be able to do this as a job now. Oh shit! I don't even know where to go. There are so many areas in this. This is such a big topic.
Would it help if we you know, zoomed in on specific areas? So in terms of, like, you know, how busy you guys get, you know, so let's say 2011, when you guys first launched your first album, and up till today. So in terms of, you know, scheduling and things like that, do you feel like a massive difference between how busy you were back then and like today? I mean, okay, ignore the coronavirus thing, but then, you know, prior to that, were you?
Yeah, sure. But you kind of grow into it as well, because back then it seemed like a big deal to go on a tour 1 month away, and maybe sometimes longer. It was something you needed to prepare on mentally for a long time, and you had to really, it was like really a big part of the year, where the years pass and it gets more and more normal, and you just get used to traveling all the time. You get used to airports and early mornings and stuff like that. All the travelings, it just becomes part of your reality all of a sudden, that this is just the way it is, which is nice, because then you don't have to spend so much energy on this part. Also it works to have a very good team of people behind you that's taking care of all the logistics and so on. So you only have to worry about getting from A to B and playing your instrument. So life has definitely become much easier in that regard. In the beginning, things were quite turbulent for a long time. Not easy, because from day one we had a fair amount of attention. So we kind of had to grow with it, with what people expected from us, and it was a challenge, I would say. And so we had to take a few detours within the band, and it took a little time for us to get where we are now. But I'm happy that it went. Everything that happened, you know, good and bad, was necessary. It's like always when you look back, you understand things in the bigger picture, right? That things only make sense afterwards, and so during tough times, things were shit, you know, and you're like, oh, how am I gonna survive? When you look back at this time, you know, you realize it was completely necessary. So yeah.
Oh, that's a good way. That's a good way of looking at it. I think things always happen for a reason, and then if we survive it, and then we'll be like, yeah, actually that kind of shaped who I am today.
Same goes with this year, right? This Corona year. hopefully something good will come out of this for everyone. Also, the whole music industry. Right now, it's taking a huge blow.
Yeah,
Like
it is.
venues closing down, and a lot of people working in the music industry, not necessarily the musicians, the crews, and I mean they're struggling right now. So I this is what I fear the most of, because I think most bands will survive, but the whole thing behind this is
Yeah, the entire industry.
yeah.
Yeah,
But I still have hopes that everything that we will all come back stronger
yeah. I'm
and
sure.
appreciate things a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think you are right, because I do think that there will be some kind of good that will come out of this, and maybe things will not be like how exactly it was before, but then there's this new norm where things are done differently, and maybe the entire industry will be kind of forced to take like a slightly different direction and different approach to how the entertainment industry operates. So yeah, but I'm sure there will be something good that will come out of it. It's only a matter of time before that good reveals itself.
Yeah, plus a lot of musicians' livers are gonna recover during this year. It's a win-win.
Yeah, exactly. So speaking of, now that we're, talking about the band, what's it like being in such big band? Big as in, okay, everyone knows you guys are famous. When I say big, I mean like because you guys are a huge family. You've got like 3 vocalists, one guitar, one drummer, one bass, and that's it, right? 6. So, I mean, it's hard enough for a couple to live together. How is it like, living with like, working with like 6 people for like so many years? Obviously, there were member changes, in between, but still, you guys are still such a big band as a group. So, what's it like dealing with so many people?
Yeah, and there's even more people. There's also the whole crew.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And they're also, I mean, the crew is also part of the whole thing, because you spend as much time with them almost as you do with the band. You all
Oh,
travel together.
that's true.
But yeah, it's a big family, both in like in good good and bad. It's a it. I mean, everybody has their own distinct personality in this band, more so than other bands I've ever played with. So everybody is I would say we're not the usual band of like friends that get together to form a band that like every, I don't know, but most of the bands I played in before, it is always like you kind of friends before, you like the same music, you had the same vision. Here it's a little bit different. So everybody come from different backgrounds and slightly into different subgenres of metal and so on. So so we all had to kind of grow with this together, and we kind of created something out of this, some kind of weird, unique family, almost. So yeah, I mean, we're all really good friends, and we're very close, and we like to hang with each other as well, outside of the when we're on the job, so yeah, it's great. It's the best possible job, I
That's
would say, and it's good to be able to share it with people that feels like family.
Oh, that's good. That's very good to hear, and I'm very happy for you guys as well. So, working together as a family, like, what can you bring us through, like, the songwriting process of the band, like, and then where does your involvement as a drummer begin in the process? Because sometimes for some bands, the guitarist writes the songs and he passes it to the rest of the band. So in Amarant's case, what is it like when it comes to songwriting?
Well, it has kind of evolved. In the beginning, it was everything was written before we even recorded an album, because you had more time back then. The recent couple of years, especially this latest album, Manifest, is I would say compared to other bands, it's the writing process is pretty quick, and it's pretty much Olof and Elise who's doing the actual songwriting. So this time the process, I would say, before entering the studio, I had some demos that they made. I had, I think, 2 full songs and a few rough ideas, like one verse and maybe a chorus and something like that. Sometimes not even with the basic program drums. And from there we just start recording.
Wow.
So I mean, I start with the songs that I already kind of prepared a little bit, but I never really like prepare it, because I know that as soon as I get into the studio, I'm gonna be in a different mindset, and I'm gonna be able to hear things in a different way. So I don't sit down in the rehearsal room before and like, okay, this fill is gonna be like this here, and this and here it's gonna be like this. I'm more like, oh, this works here, and this kind of vibe works here, and I kind of make mental notes that like this is kind of stuff works here. And when you finally get into the studio, you're gonna finalize it. You're gonna listen to it, and you're gonna say, oh yeah, seemed like a good idea, but nah, it doesn't sound too good. Let's do something completely different. Or you know, anything can happen. And then Olof and Elise, while I screw around with the drums, they continue writing songs in a small room next to the drum room. So they sit there with ideas and finalize the songs. So it's almost like a factory. And I stick my head into it. Oh, how's it going? You know, yeah, we have this so far. What do you think? Yeah, that's great. And maybe I have some input as well sometimes. You know, maybe you could do this with the have a break here, and so on. And then back to the drum room, I record a little bit, and during the end of that day, they usually have a song that's done. They put the song on Dropbox. I listen to it on my way home, because I'm so fortunate that I live pretty close to the studio. So yeah. I take my mountain bike, I go home, I listen to the new song a lot of times, try different ideas that I think would work with the drums, come into the studio the next day, record it, same next day, you know. So it's not a very traditional way of working with songwriting at all, I guess.
Yeah.
And the first couple of times we did this, I was completely stressed and freaked out before, because I felt like I haven't prepared. I don't know how is this gonna go, and you kind of learn that to trust yourself and know that when you have to, you're capable of making the right decision for the drummings, the parts in the studio in the moment. And then you also have modern technology, which means that you don't have to play from the first bar to the last bar perfectly.
Yeah.
Right? Like back in the days, you had to do that. I also did that many times, you know, like if you play something and it's like, fuck, it was so good until this happened, and fuck, okay, we start all over again. So it's more like composing and making sure that this is the right drums for this song, and nailing stuff, really nailing. It's not, there's no sloppiness going on here. There's no like, oh, we can just fix it afterwards. Like with fixing, I mean that the producer can just fix it. We don't work like that. We really nail it. But I completely, I like the idea of being able to, you play something, it's a great fill, but you're like, fuck, I should have hit really like a lot harder on those rim shots. And you go in, you nail that fill, and you make that fill perfect. That's the best way for me to work in the studio, being creative. But it also it's only possible because we have time as well. I usually have 2 weeks to record the drums. So back in the old days, it was 2 days to record. I mean, I've been working with Jacob Hansen, our producer, for many years, and recorded so many albums with him. And shit, I remember one session where we had 2 albums to record. One extremely fast death metal album, and another like thrash album, Russian band. I remember everything in 4 days.
Oh, wow.
That was intense. That was different.
Okay.
So yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you certainly did, and it's not easy actually what you do there, because some people like myself, and I believe it's the case with a lot of musicians as well. We really have to prepare before entering the studio, and like maybe there will be some slight tweaks during recording, like maybe you feel that it's not that good, it needs to change, but then generally most people have an idea of how most parts need to be, and obviously it's not everyone that can just come up with parts and ideas on the spot, especially under pressure. So yeah, so I think it's kind of good to be in your position, because you have had all that non-metal training, so therefore your exposure towards drumming is kind of broad and not just metal alone. So I think you can hear parts as you are recording, and you're like, okay, this feels right, maybe I should try something like that on the spot. Yeah. But I don't think that's something a lot of people will be able to do. I'm sure a lot of people will be able to do, but there's also a huge chunk of people who need to prepare before actually going into the studio.
Yeah, it can be intimidating recording in the studio as well. It's also a factor. If you get super nervous and stuff like that, if you have the feeling that, oh shit, the clock is ticking, everybody's waiting for the drums to be done. Yeah. That's always the case, right? The drummer is always the first to record. Track. So everybody's like, oh shit, man, it's costing a lot of money. This, are you sure you're gonna have sure you can? So, but in this case, it's super relaxed, and also I'm always working with Jacob, and we kind of know each other so well now that it's just we always agree when it's there, when it's not there. If don't even have to speak to each other. If I make a take on something, it's like I know that he knows what I'm thinking. So it's like, yeah, okay, we do it again. Yeah, okay. Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah, okay, let's hear it. Okay, good. So it's all about being in your comfort zone as well. I think.
That's very true, and I think that chemistry with the producer is so important, because, like you said, you have to. I mean, it's a privilege to have a producer that has the same mindset and hears and sees the same thing as the artist who's recording. That really makes it much easier.
It's very necessary. It's so necessary. I heard a lot of horror stories from drummers entering the studio, and having all these great ideas, and then the producer is like, nah, no, like just wanting this basic, like, can you just play AC/DC? Okay. So yeah, I mean, there's so many approaches to music. So I think what we are doing in Amaranthe, first of all, we're not overthinking, which is always something that happens. If you prepare well in advance, you end up analyzing it way too much, and usually most of the time it's usually the first idea and the first feeling you had in your stomach that you should go with, because once you start tweaking everything too much, you're gonna get so far away from that initial idea you had in the first place that it maybe doesn't even make any sense anymore, and you can focus in on so like narrow aspects that doesn't really matter at all to the overall music. So I think it's good to, in our case, to create music in a very small amount of time, a small time frame. Also as an album as a whole, it's more like an album, not just songs gathered from past 2 years. And
That's very true. Okay. Well, so speaking of writing, can you kind of share what your thought process is like when it comes to writing drum parts? Because is there like a strategy, or is it just, at that moment how you feel about it and that's it? Or do you have like a kind of like a
No,
structure in terms of how you
nah,
write?
I don't have any structure. I just I listen to it a lot, and I try different approaches in my mind, and I play some table drumming along to it to see how it would feel and get an overall picture. Um, and when you hear it, at least when I hear it, I always know if it's there or not. And then there's always, after an album recording, there's always a few places where I should have done this instead. I should have done this. And usually it goes back to just listening to my first response. But I can also work against myself sometimes and just be stubborn and like, oh, this is not interesting enough. I need to do this instead. And then you sometimes end up doing stuff that's unnecessary and maybe gets in the way of the vocals or whatever it could be. So yeah. It's just a learning process. But I don't. First of all, I don't write. I mean, I know how to write my drum parts, but I don't actually write it down. I know many drummers do that, and probably works as well. But I don't know. I got very far away from this whole way of thinking music. Not that it's bad, but would, and I might do that in other contexts, but not with this.
Okay. Well, yeah, I guess at the end of the day, what matters most is the final outcome. How does the final outcome sound? And that's the priority. So it doesn't really matter what the process is, as long as, the final outcome is pleasing to the ears, and that's all that matters at the
It
end
has
of
to
the day.
fit. It just have to enhance the song. The
Yeah.
drums is like it's like what that in metal. It's like what glues everything together somehow. I mean, the fills in between sections is what glues everything together, and
Yeah.
the actual groove, it has to have some groove to it, even if it's edited. It has to retain some groove. That's also why I'm very, very much against this 100% editing. I mean, because let's be honest, every album is edited. So is Amaranthe. Everything goes through the machinery, but it's not heavily edited. It's played, everything. So at least in my ears, I can still hear the groove. I don't know if other people can hear the groove, because it's still, of course, it's still super tight, and there's all these backing tracks competing for the attention and all that stuff. But yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Well, thanks for sharing all that. So obviously, we look forward to, that album that you guys are going to launch in October. I think it's October the 2nd, isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, so speaking of that, actually, was that actually planned? Because you guys obviously had all these shows lined up, and then like I'm sure the album wasn't part of the plan, right? To be launched in October.
Well, we were supposed to go on this massive US tour in August, and the 20th of August, and the album release was supposed to be on the 28th of August.
Oh, okay.
In conjunction with that tour, that didn't work so well for some reason.
Oh well.
So yeah, um, yeah, we just moved it simply. We had a lot of stuff to do all of a sudden as well with videos. There's still gonna be more videos before this album gets out.
Okay.
So yeah, there's still work to do actually. There's gonna be a lot of stuff coming out the next couple of months,
Oh, nice.
and
Well, looking forward to see that.
it's gonna be different. It's gonna you will see.
Yeah, maybe you know in the next few videos you can actually get Hugh Jackman on on the videos. Who did it better, you know? Oh, that's hilarious. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that. So before we end our session today, you know, is there any sort of advice that you would like to give out to any drummer who is, you know, looking to either start drumming or, you know, just to improve technically? Do you have any sort of advice for them?
Yeah, I mean, be patient. Keep practicing, because things take time, and consistency always trumps like, I would say, it's not so important that day that you spend 10 hours in the rehearsal room. It's more important to do something over time. You know, it's a little bit every day goes much longer than a lot, not so often. You know, so I would say the key to success with this is like consistency. And I mean, there's different ways to focus, and for me personally, I'm not like big on like social media and stuff like that. So I could never give advice for this, because it's just not my comfort zone. But I know it's important if you want to be heard. It's a big part of the puzzle these days for people to actually know about you. So play with as many musicians as possible, and record yourself, and get yourself into uncomfortable situations sooner than later. I mean, and hard work, it's gonna be hard for a long time. And if you're an aspiring musician, make sure that you don't have too many expenses in your life, because then you're gonna go back to that plan B that you planned, maybe, which I never had any plan B. But yeah, don't things take time.
Yeah, it does, and it's very true that, you know, consistency is really key when it comes to improving. You know, like 10 hours a day versus, you know, 1 hour for 10 days is very different. You know, it's that consistency there that will really, you know, allow you to also practice and then take a step back and then go back to practice and then take a step back, you know, rather than just focusing 10 hours a day.
Yeah, exactly. And also, if you really want to be serious and you want to practice a lot on your instrument, it's very physical demanding. So you should step it up. You shouldn't just from one day, from maybe playing half an hour here and there, and okay, now I'm gonna go all in. I'm gonna play 5 hours a day. You know, you're gonna burn yourself out. It's the same when working out. You know, if you want to get in a good shape, you don't start after New Year's Eve. You know, you don't start going to the gym 6 days a week. You know, I mean, and most people do that. You know, that's why they fail. That's why after 2 months they stop again, because it's all or nothing. So this all or nothing attitude is not gonna get you very far. Only in the short run. I would say. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's very valuable advice for anyone who, you know, would listen to this interview here today. So with that, you know, we come to an end to our session today. So once again, I would like to, you know, really thank you, and I'm really humbled, and I really appreciate the fact that, you know, you took the time out to do this with me today. So well, good luck in your future endeavors, and I really look forward to the album in 2 months' time.
Yeah, thank you very much for the interview. It was a pleasure.
All right.
I hope you got something out of this.
I've got a lot. I've got a lot. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. All right, take care, and we will keep in touch.
All right.
Okay, bye. Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
Thanks.